Welcome to the Gnostic Informant. I'm Jesus, the Logos incarnate, and you are about to attain true Gnosis.
Welcome back to the Gnostic Informant, and you are about to attain true Gnosis.
Yeah.
And so we got a couple of announcements that we're going to make that me and Derek are working on right now behind the scenes, trying to get you guys the best content, information, knowledge, Gnosis, trying to get you into the seventh heaven, the highest of all heavens. You know what I mean? So which one do you want to talk about first, man? We got so many things coming up. Which one do you want to talk about?
I just want to say, being someone who never read this stuff, you put me on. People think this. Let me get the elephant in the room for some people who are just kind of ready to be negative, right? And I'm an optimistic guy, but like the people who go, man, that Gnostic Informant guy copies mythvision. Or that Gnostic Informant guy copies Derek, okay? First of all, I want to say a few things. When we met, we clicked. Like, you're my brother, number one.
That's a fact. Number
two, I cannot tell people how much I learn from you, how I am inspired by you. You have sent me books that I have on my shelf. I would probably it would have been who knows how long before I bought one of those. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I just want to say, like, when we talk about we're going to take you to the seventh heaven, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like, just knowing what was said in the ancient world by people will shock you, especially if you're comparing it to this thing that is so different and so unique, and no one ever had anything like Christianity. No.
It's more fun now than it was as a dogmatic believer.
Right.
It is. It's just better this way because you don't have to, you're not weighed down by any argument. You just go into it and just enjoy. Like, you don't have to like, oh, this hurts my belief. I don't want to look at that. Let me not read this.
Right.
Like,
there's no taboo, man.
Yeah. You just read stuff.
They believe these things too. So imagine I don't want to speak for anybody else. I don't believe that they are really true. Right? I don't believe that the mystery cults were true in any ontological sense. I get why they're doing them, understanding why they believed in these things. And like someone might go, like, there's kind of this straw man about, I don't know, there's this back and forth war that goes on between atheists and deists and this and that. And it's like, dude, I love reading this stuff. I know that this stuff's outdated. I understand that their beliefs are kind of what we call superstitions and things like that. That's okay with me. I don't know if many atheists take the time to actually study this stuff and learn it. Like, there's not a ton out there. Mostly it's like this whole well, what made this universe if we know it had a start and stuff like that. That's the typical argument you hear, is why there's probably not a god or there is a god. But we get down into the minutia. We want to take you down into, okay, so in book 4 of Herodotus, 94 to 96, there's this weird cult that talks about, the Gitai talk about this thing called the Zomoxis, which I saw you had a super chat. So I wanted to, you
want to pull that up real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Was that
Who
the first
is
one?
the
It was the
historical?
first one too, because I don't want to skip anybody. But it does happen to be the first one, so that's good.
Right. I want to tease people into this because there's so much. But who is the historical Zomoxis? Well, even Herodotus didn't know. Herodotus was making a guess. And depending on who you're reading about this, Herodotus might have been clowning the Gitai, or the Gitai, however you want to pronounce them.
Yeah.
He might have been making a mockery or trying to downplay. Oh, they believed he rose from the dead because he appeared to them on the 4th year out of the tomb underground. What the freak, dude?
He was
Come
gone
on.
for 3 years, and he arose on the 4th year. You're like, wait a minute, and then it's like, well, if you're gonna say, well, it's not the same thing, it's years, we're talking days. But then it's like, what about the Daniel 70 weeks thing, where the weeks turn into years? So in that particular case, the numbers is all that matters,
right?
But in this particular case, now it's about the days and it's about the exact. So it's like, maybe it is about number play. Maybe there's some Pythagorean thing going on. You know what I mean?
Could be. I mean, that's the problem. Is like trying to understand these authors and what they intended, what they meant. We're trying to glean into the zeitgeist in which they wrote, so we can try to better understand what they're trying to say. But we can never really get into the mind of some of these authors. It's just not something we can do. So, I mean, we could try.
Yeah.
But we can't really be so confident with like, well, I'm at a high 99.9% probability that I know what was meant here. No. So who is the historical Zomoxis? Let me get my book real quick here.
Sure.
Let me grab Herodotus. Where did I set Herodotus?
Sure, and I'll go to. Oh, I just got a new member.
No way,
Mr. Monster.
Woo, Dude, he's awesome.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Monster.
Yeah, okay. I was making sure. So
yeah,
thanks
for
joining,
man. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, if you want real true gnosis, like there's true gnosis and there are various levels of gnosis. Like you automatically have the metaphorical, if you will, the Gnostic chip card inserted into your cerebral cortex, and you now have the true gnosis. Like you're a member. It is what it is. Let me grab Herodotus real quick because I think this is interesting.
Sure, go ahead. Jason Sobek, Lord of the Four Corners. Thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that, buddy. Really appreciate that. I'm liking everybody in the chat. Harmonic Atheist is here. Captain Dadpool is here. Melody Joy is here. All the great people. Friendly Muslim is here. Kreckenfort is also here. Wow, everyone's here today. Karen Serif. I always have to relook at that name before I say it. This is why I follow you guys. You don't believe, but you can still acknowledge interest in religion, myths, and why some humans believed or initiated these beliefs. Exactly. We're just having fun with it. We're two former dogmatic believers who studied our way out of it, but the action of studying our way out of it was so profound and fun, and
you're gonna have to pull it up, bro.
Okay. All right, I can pull it up.
You have your book on you. I cannot find it. I
actually do have it.
I put all my books that were on my shelf or on my back desk because it was becoming too clustered.
Yeah. Oh, it's right here. I got it right here.
Okay. Book 4, 94 to 96. Oh, I found it. Holy smokes.
Oh yeah, this is worth it. It's worth it.
I found it. All
right, you go. You're a better reader.
Well, no. Shoot, you read more than I do. Book 4, 94 to 96. So I did a video on this. I did make it public, from Zomoxis to Jesus, just to kind of like point out an evolution of ideas.
Right.
None of this is like Xerox, but the stuff is in the air. And when did Herodotus write his histories? Do we have that?
It's about like 450 BC.
Okay, so 5th century.
Yeah.
All right. So this is 400 or 500 years before.
Long freaking time ago.
Maybe over 500, actually.
This is ancient. This is literally
old. Okay. So I'm going to try and read this quickly. There's a lot. If you pause and actually sift through what he's saying here. The implications are quite interesting on what's being said. So I'll read it quickly.
Yeah.
As to immortality. So here's the topic. Get an idea. Immortality in your head. The Gittai believe that they do not really die, but that when one of them passes away, he goes to Zomoxis, a sort of divinity, whom some of them also call Gebelizus. Every 5th year, they send off one of their numbers who has been selected by lot. You know, the Bible talks about lots, casting lots and whatnot. And, all right, Bobby, the guy with the shortest straw. Remember Armageddon? The guy with the shortest straw was the one who was going to sacrifice himself to save the earth, and he tricked and he took the shortest straw on purpose to try and anyway. All right. I don't know why that came to mind. So they take Lot to serve as a messenger to the Zomoxis with instructions as to what they want at that particular time. So it's almost like we're sending you with a message. You're going to die. They pick someone by lot. You're bringing a message to Zomoxis. So you're dying to give this god a message. That's is your whole purpose.
So deep right there. That's so great.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So here they want this particular message at this particular time to go. This is how they dispatch him. So this is how the number ends up being killed. And he's kind of mocking it. 3 men who are appointed to the task each hold a javelin. 3 men. Don't know if the number makes any sense. We don't want to be parallelomania here, but it is just something to maybe, who knows, put on the list, whatever. Okay. So 3 men appointed to the task each hold a javelin, and a javelin's kind of like a spear. Okay. While others seize the hands and feet. And this is something you highlighted that made interest, like Jesus was crucified, right? Hands and feet kind of things. I don't know.
Seized. They're nailed down. They're seized, right?
Right. You kind of wonder, is this parallelomania? Maybe.
Right.
Is there something to it? Maybe. I don't know. There's no way to say, oh yeah, let's not jump to conclusions, but it's fun. It's fun to speculate and think maybe, right?
Right.
Did you want to say something about that?
No, go ahead. No, I was going to say, this is the fun thing about not being a professional scholar.
Yeah.
Like, we can sort of go off into deep ends. And like no one's gonna really like say, "What? You're a professional scholar?" You're saying like we can actually take risks like this and
not get
wrong. If we're wrong, we're wrong. Whoops, I'm wrong.
Just so everybody knows, I'm not making this up. Like this is in the book. So yeah. Okay, so they swing him up into the air and throw him. Obviously, there must have been male. And throw him onto the points of the javelins. If the man dies from being impaled, they believe that the messenger himself, if the man dies, they believe that the messenger himself, they believe that the god, sorry, I skipped a line here. If the man dies from being impaled, they believe that the god is well disposed toward them. So good job. If you died, the god is favoring this person. They're happy towards this person, okay? So it's a good thing. Right. But if he does not die, they blame the messenger himself, accusing him of being a bad man, and seek another to send in his place. So, hey, Bobby didn't die.
You're alive? You're a bad
Billy.
man.
Yeah, get Billy over here. Billy's we'll do another person. So they send someone else in the place. They give the messenger instructions while he is still alive. These same Thracians shoot their arrows up into the sky, aiming at thunder and lightning as they shout threats at the god. And they believe that no other god exists but their own. Tell me that's not a wild, monotheistic, strange religious belief.
Well, it reminds me of Celsus, or Celsus, however you want to pronounce his name, where he talks about when you're trying to talk to Christians or debate with Christians, you can't even compare their gods to others. You can't compare Zeus and Yahweh. They don't like that. They're not even trying to be in the same universe as you. Like it's like Marvel and DC. They're not even together, and they're separate. So the fact that Herodotus points that out, I'm like, that's kind of interesting, because back in that time, the whole world had this understanding of, there's different gods, but they all sort of coexist, and we have local gods, and our God helps us and your God helps you, and there's a god of the storms, there's a god of the sea, there's all these different gods, but it was sort of a universal concept. But like this Zomoxis people are like, no, this is the only true way.
That's what's really weird about it.
That is a very profound thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So then this is Herodotus saying, I have heard from the Hellenes who inhabit the Hellespont and the Pontus, however, that this Zomoxis was actually a human being who had been enslaved and served Pythagoras, son of Monarchos on Samos. But he was eventually freed, and then he acquired abundant wealth there before returning to his own land. Now, while the Thracians live a crude life and are rather stupid, Herodotus is like mocking them, like they're idiots, is what he says.
He does it a lot.
Zomoxis knew the Ionian way of life and character, which is more profound than that of the Thracians, and he had associated with Hellenes, including Pythagoras, certainly not the feeblest thinker of the Hellenes. And so he had a banqueting hall built where he hosted and entertained the leading men of the town. And he taught them, this is freaking wild to find this 500 years before Christianity, just to make the point. And he taught them that neither he nor they, his drinking companions, nor their descendants would die, but that they would come to a place where they would live on and have all good things.
Heaven.
Right? And as he was composing these lessons and relating them to his guests, he was also constructing an underground chamber, a tomb, if you will. When it was completely finished, he vanished from the sight of the Thracians by descending into the chamber and spending 3 years there. The Thracians missed him and grieved for him as though he had died. But in the 4th year, he appeared to them, and thus what Zomoxis had taught them became credible. That at least is what they said he did. And this is the point that Richard Carrier said in my top 10 Dying and Rising Gods. In his article, he says, like, the fact that these Thracians now see him alive, right, in this lore.
He lives,
but it's not just that he lives. Like, what he taught them in that banqueting hall about living forever, like, this somehow validated his teaching to them, and they start to now believe we will live forever now. Right. This teaching will be, we're going to have what he said because here he is, he's alive. Okay, so it makes you wonder, like, swoon theory, like what, like what kind of thing could make sense about the Jesus thing? I don't know. You got to go to Christianity to kind of speculate.
It's a very, very fascinating thing, and it sort of vanishes in history after that. Like Herodotus talks about it, and then you don't really hear about it until centuries later, where people are like, hey, remember that guy Zomoxis that Herodotus told us about? Whatever happened to that? You know what I mean?
I want to pull this thread at some point and dive in and see if there's any academics who've seen maybe the cult took on a different shape, because this is exactly what happens when the Greeks get a hold of Egyptian mythology. They kind of rename stuff, they repackage stuff, and maybe this sect continues, because we know, why would Celsus use this in the 3rd century AD as an argument? Like,
right,
someone contemporaneous had to have thought of Zomoxis or Zomoxis as something, right? You would think.
Right.
So I'd be interested to know that, but I do want to end on the note of saying this is Herodotus saying, Herodotus says, I myself do not believe this story about him.
I just pulled this up, and I guess who else mentions him in their writings?
Who?
Aristotle.
Ooh,
that's interesting. I wonder what he'll say. I'm not going to get into that right now, but
we should look.
I just wanted to see who mentions him in their writings, and Aristotle's one of the people.
We need to pull all the threads, check out all source material, look into this, and then see what scholars say, and then what looks like. What does this look like? Anyway, Herodotus says, I myself do not believe this story about him and the underground chamber. Although I do not discount it completely, I do think, however, that this Zomoxis lived many years before Pythagoras, but whether Zomoxis was born a human being or exists as some sort of native divinity among the Gitai, let us bid him farewell. At any rate, that is how the Gitai were subdued by the Persians, and they were now following along with the rest of the army. I don't know how the Zomoxis story relates to the downfall of the Gitai to the Persians. Did the Persians have this myth of Zomoxis and somehow convince the Gitai?
Well,
what is the point?
Dionysus in the 3rd century says he's writing a translation of Julian the Apostate. Julian the Apostate is writing to Trajan, and it says that we have conquered these Gitai, the most warlike of all people that have ever existed, not only because of the strength in their bodies, but also due to the teachings of Zomoxis, who is among their most hailed. He has told them that in their hearts they do not die, but change their location, and due to this, they go to their deaths happier than any other on their journey.
That's wow. Like,
so
what? That's not.
He shows up again in the writings of people in the Christian era.
Well, that sounds like, yeah. I was gonna say, like, as a Christian, there was this like no fear of death because you literally kind of blindly accept that no matter what, I'm going to be okay and I'm going to a better place when this is over.
That's the whole point of being saved, is that you no longer fear death. You think you're saved. You're going to heaven. Like you're convinced that it's real.
Right.
It's like it's like a Platonic noble lie type of thing.
Well, think about this. This is what I said about the book of Daniel. Here's Daniel predicting that we're going to win. God's coming in. We're in the final week. Here's this Antiochus Epiphanes. We're going to write in code. Like it's already prophesying from the 6th century BC that this is all supposedly happening in, which is not 2nd century. But it's happening around the time of Antiochus Epiphanes and all the crap happening between the Maccabees and the Jews, the Hellenistic Jews that are being kind of attacked, if you will, by the Maccabees and whatnot. Long story short, they're kind of giving you that we're in a war against a much larger army. But don't you worry, Neal. I have confirmation from God. The gods have spoken, and we're going to win. And I know it. So go out there with all you got, because don't worry, baby, we're going to win. And then we go out there and we lose. But you fought like you were going to win. Because if you thought, well, this is not good. This doesn't look good for us. There's no magical fairies and angels going to fly down and help us out of heaven. You're probably not going out there with the same oomph. You know what I mean?
But then in that case, you have to go back to the scriptures and figure out why. What did we do wrong? We weren't praying enough. Oh, we didn't have enough altars. We weren't giving enough sacrifices or something. Like there's always some reason why. And that's why. That's how they live on.
If there is a historical kernel to Saul, King Saul, and they lost to the Philistine, army, you kind of imagine what happened. Well, the day before, Saul went to this witch in Endor, okay? Right. And this is what happened, okay? Like this, it makes you kind of wonder, like, if it even is historical, but, it's
I think we keep going with some supers, and then we'll keep
I'm rolling with you. I just spent way too much time, but I don't know the historical. You're neither did Herodotus. So.
Right. So Jesus Saves, thank you for the super chats. Love the 20 motif video. Thank you for that.
That was fun.
Why not talk about fulfilled prophecy in the New Testament?
I think the motifs are. Yeah. See, this is the thing about it. Like, I think the motifs, I think what Christians call fulfilled prophecy or what the Gospels are saying, it is written. And
so you have to have it at the perspective of it's fulfilled prophecy, or your other perspective is they're borrowing motifs from the Old Testament and rewriting it for Jesus. And then
what's more probable?
But here's the thing you got to think about. Early in the Gospels, it says that when Jesus was a young boy in the temple, he was reading from the Isaiah scroll. Mm-hmm. So you know from the text, Jesus knows the scriptures. That would mean that everything that Jesus did, he knew he was fulfilling an Old Testament thing. So that means if you do think it's historical, if you think all this stuff actually happened, then you have to ask yourself, is this self-fulfilled? Is he doing all this on purpose? Because he knows the Old Testament. It would be more impressive if the Old Testament was hidden away for 10 centuries. No one knew what it said.
And we knew that. Yeah.
And they dug it up and found, oh my God, this is everything Jesus did. Right. Then you would have something there. But the fact that everyone knows these texts, and there's 12 apostles and there's 12 tribes, and he's doing all the same things Joseph did. He's doing all the same things Isaac did. And it's like, why am I impressed? He knows this stuff.
I'm impressed at how creative the authors were. That's what I'm impressed at. So, absolutely. So Jesus Saves, thank you for the super chat. I just want to make a point that while I once was like you and believed these were prophecies and these were actually fulfilled, I now find an interest in how creative the authors were in what they did by rewriting and rehashing and finding ways of putting this together, even though I don't think that the prophecies were actually fulfilled, by definition being a prophecy.
Right.
I think you would agree with me, Neal, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, and I hear a lot of times from atheists, and I'm not saying they're bad for doing this, but like they mean well. They're just you'll hear people say they were a bunch of illiterate shepherds in the mountains that don't know better. They were just writing down nonsense. But it's like when you read this stuff, it's
creative,
high level writing. This is like really intricate stuff right here. They're like connected to the Old Testament, and there's like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I could sit down and write with all the resources I have. I couldn't put together a New Testament that's that much connected to the Old Testament, but not only connected to the Old Testament, connected to the rest of the myths in the world, connected to the Odyssey.
We were also not trained to write this way, read this way, this kind of stuff. There's a lot of training that was involved. Anyone who was literate had to go through school, and when they did, they learned these things, whether it be by Jews themselves in Jewish schools. They taught you midrash. They taught you how to, rewrite or see these things and pull these out and whatnot. This is stuff that was going on around the time the Dead Sea Scrolls seemed to show this stuff as well. So there's a lot of interesting.
They're putting all of their brain power into this, and you can see that it paid off. Like in that sense, it pays off for that. Yeah. Like we have our mindsets on different things, and we're doing podcasts or whatever. People go to work and do their jobs, and that we have our brain power in that area. But they were focused on ancient myths and rewriting in Greek New Testaments and all that. So like you could see how well they did. They did a good job, but like I have a critical approach to the text.
I hope people in 1,000 years don't think we're idiots. We're trying with what we have, and we're really not. Yeah. We're not, I hope they think they did the best they could, and they had some interesting things that they did with what they had. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Harmonic Atheist, thank you for the super chat. I'm guessing your announcement is that you are opening an OnlyFans account.
See, Tim gets it. See, Tim has that gnosis. He gets it. He knows the real thing.
Yes. Yeah. So since he brought it up, let's get one of them out the way.
Okay.
We got a course from my favorite scholar, who I've done like 10 videos with, Dr. M. David Litwa, who is he's written books on early Christianity, Christian origins, the Nag Hammadi scriptures. But yeah, let's just play this clip real quick.
Okay, it's not edited and it's completely raw, but
it's fine.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's hear my 3, 2, 1, and then let's just see. 2, 1.
Okay, I would just like to warmly invite all people to join this particular course on the Greek and Roman mysteries. You'll take it with me. I'm David Litwa. I'm a scholar of early Christianity, trained in classics and ancient Mediterranean religions. We're going to be looking in a fair-minded and balanced way at 7 different mystery cults, the Samothracian mysteries, Eleusinian mysteries, Orphic Dionysian mysteries, Isis and Osiris, Pimandres and the Corpus Hermeticum, Cybele and Attis, and then finally Christianity and the mysteries. And for all of those out there who really want to learn more in depth and detail about mystery cults and how they compare with Christianity, this is the course for you. And wow. I hope you can join us.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a blast, bro. I'm telling you. I sat in the garage right here in my office when we did the courses. And some of the things he said were just like, I was like, oh my gosh, it's really interesting. The mystery cults are very, very interesting. So we're in the editing process right now of putting that together with your help. And once we have this thing go, you're going to be the early bird who gets to get out there and promote this thing firsthand. And then, of course, we'll do the public announcement, getting everybody. But if you're a Gnostic Informant Patreon, if you're a Gnostic Informant member, look, this is my way of helping because Neal has helped me out so much. You'll get early access going through Neal, and he'll get the link. All of that will be ready when it's done. But we're in the process of getting these courses together. And they're going to be, man.
And this is in depth, in the weeds, all of the stuff that you cannot just look up online. Like this is deep scholarship. He's going to
Yeah.
the Greek manuscripts.
It's a college course.
This is the real deal. Samothracian mysteries. I don't even know anything about that. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds amazing. Sounds like something I really want to learn about, especially the Isis and Osiris mysteries, which I've been dabbling in lately. There's something that was a really popular, booming cult in the 1st century in Rome too.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them. What I love is just how I told him, I'm like, but then we get to Christianity. It walks like a duck. It talks like a duck. I mean, it's a duck. And it is right there in the vein of all the other mystery cults. It's just, its storyline is the Hebrew Bible, though. So it has a Jewish background, right? While Isis and Osiris has an Egyptian Osiris, Isis, Horus background, and the narrative takes place where here is this complex story where Osiris is defeated, killed, and then put in this sarcophagus. And
they both die on the 17th day of the month, the full moon.
Plutarch. That's in. So for those who haven't watched the top 10 video that I did, I do want to give it a special shout out. I hope it takes off and goes viral. I mean, I put so many hours and hard work into that video. I really, really hope it does. So if you haven't watched it, get into it. Within a minute and something, we're already into Osiris. I wonder if I should play it. Like just
play it. Play a clip of it, dude.
I didn't want to like.
I'll go to the next one while you're pulling it up. Robert Herring, listening at work, sending love in my tithe. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate that. You've always been a good friend. You always watch. You're always in the chat. I appreciate your company.
Yeah.
Gaius Julius Windex, another one of my Patreons. That thoughts on the Temple of Isis in Rome. It was huge. That is true. I recently just found this out, actually, that there was a Temple of Isis in Rome that was, I think it was built in like the 1st century BC. I'm not really sure. Don't quote me on that. But it was popping in the 1st century. It was one of the, during the Augustan era, it was one of the like big temples that was dedicated by Augustus. And this is one of the big time places people went to worship. And this goddess, who the Romans, not the Egyptians, but the Romans they morphed her into the mother of the gods, the Kybele type of, they sort of like molded together a bunch of goddesses and made it. Isis was that. If you read Apuleius in his Golden Ass, the Metamorphosis, there's a chapter in there where it's like talking about salvation through Isis and how he's dying because he's turning into a golden ass. He goes to the temple of Isis and he's praying and giving offerings and tithes, and then he's saved and he goes back to a human again. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. Like, this is how
I hear there's something in that golden ass. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same story, but I've heard that there's also some sexual undertone to it as well. I mean, the obelisk is a phallus, so it's like, there's sex all throughout all of these cults that are really interesting, or they're anti-sex, right? Like Attis cut off his balls and everything. Like, what?
Yeah, really weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff going on.
So it's like we're either pro-phallic or anti, huh?
Yeah, you're right. It is like a real weird phallus type thing. And then there was in the Golden Bog by Fraser.
A golden bow, isn't it?
Golden Bog, or however you pronounce it.
I don't know.
He talks about their Osiris when corn in Egypt, when corn would grow during the springtime or summertime, they thought that was Osiris getting an erection. Because Osiris being like a vegetation rising god, the rising dog star, that was him getting an erection.
Dude,
golden phallus, the golden phallus of Osiris is corn.
I always plug this because it's that good.
It is
God and Anatomy, Francesca Stavrakopoulou. She talks about the rainbow in Noah's day when the whole flood. What that symbolizes is a very interesting euphemism in the Bible. Like the war bow. What is it meant to do? It's meant to pierce you. Okay. And this is the whole thing goes back to the Greeks. Like a woman lost her virginity when she's pierced by a male phallus. Okay. When she loses her virginity. But men were pierced in battle. They lost their virginity. It was when a sword pierced them. It wasn't a man who slept with a woman lost his virginity idea. It's actually in battle. But this war bow, God is showing by the symbol of the rainbow in the sky, which is a bow, that you see, actual bow and arrow is bent like the rainbow is bent, it represents the phallus. It represents God's penis.
Right.
And it is a symbol of combat toward humanity. It's a very interesting thing where he's saying, here's my symbol that I'm not going to do that to you again. Okay. I know that sucked. But anyway, like, there's a lot of wild when you get back into the ancient world. By the way, you missed the super chat, Jason Sobek, or the super sticker. Jason Sobek.
Oh, yeah, no, I showed it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you did. Maybe I was doing the Herodotus
Just
thing.
in case I am losing my mind and I didn't miss it, I'll just pop it up again real quick. And Jason Sobek, thank you for that super sticker. And
Jason.
And then obviously I already showed this too. Mr. Monster became a member. You're the best. You're the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Oh no, there's one more that just came up actually. Did
Hallelujah.
you find your video, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me just do this one real quick then. There we go. Apollos. I suspect the mystery cult aspect has partly to do with Paul giving special initiation instructions, 1 Corinthians 11:34, for their house church meetings. That is fast. That's a really good. That's interesting that you pointed that out, because Paul does talk about a lot. I'll give you a mystery, or the mystery is revealed through Christ. He wants it to be in the vein of mystery cults. You could tell.
I
agree. The same language. He's using the same language.
Do I have an echo?
No, I don't hear any. Do you?
Okay, I'm just making sure that you guys aren't hearing an echo. Behold, I tell you a mystery. Paul's full of this, but not only Paul, Mark's gospel is a weird ass gospel. I mean, here in Mark's gospel, Jesus's true identity. I wrote an article on this. It's the only article I have right now on academia, but I'm writing another one on Paul. I've been in the works, but everything I do sidetracked me from being able to complete that one. Like, it's the whole Jesus isn't telling you who he really is, and he's not being forthright about it. You have to figure it out, but no one can, because flesh and blood cannot figure it out. It's the Spirit or the Father who is in heaven that actually reveals it to Peter at one point, and he's like, flesh and blood, you didn't figure this out, Peter. My Father in heaven revealed it to you. But over and over, he's like, shh, go and tell no one. Even the demons understand who he is before the disciples, because the disciples are dim-witted. They don't get it because they can't get it, because these things are spiritual and not physical, of the flesh, of the world, etc. That Mark, I think, is piggybacking off Paul. There's a scholar I want to interview on that takes that specific topic and like specializes in Mark knowing Paul, and I really want to do that dive, but he's baptizing. This whole baptism thing, this was known even before Christianity in these mystery cults.
Yeah,
I mean, I did the video. Let me play this real quick. Just do a little.
By the way, before you get to that, Apuleius, who I just mentioned when I talk about the Temple of Isis, in the same chapter where he gets saved by Isis, he gets baptized in the water. I forgot what lake it is or whatever, wherever he goes. No, it's in the Temple of Isis, actually. I just remember this. He goes in the Temple of Isis, he goes to the bath, and he gets dipped in water 7 times. And he says the reason why is because Pythagoras, something to do with Pythagoras and the number 7, is why you dip your head in the water 7 times. And I'm just like, what? That sounds like a baptism. But yeah, it's just crazy stuff. But yeah, let's pop this up.
Yeah. So let me do this. Take it off mute. Put it on. Ten dying and rising gods, including Jesus. We're going to make Jesus number 1 because my whole purpose in this video is to show you Jesus' death, burial, resurrection, ascension is not an uncommon thing in the ancient world when gods or divine figures who are being worshipped are in the scene. So I go through Jesus. I want you all to paint a picture, right? That's the point. And I'll just go ahead and cut. I did put chapters, so if you're interested in seeing a certain one, this one right here, the first one after Jesus, is Osiris.
This is Webflow. Meet the design
I'm getting
tool
paid.
From the future.
Hallelujah.
The most powerful visual.
Okay. Number 2, Osiris. A lot can be said about Osiris, so let me read some and then leave the rest for you to read yourself. Not only does Plutarch say Osiris returned to life and was resurrected, exact terms for resurrection on Isis and Osiris 35. See his discussion on the empty tomb. And also describe as physically returning to earth after his death. But the physical resurrection of Osiris's corpse is explicitly described in pre-Christian pyramid inscriptions. Osiris was also resurrected, according to Plutarch, on the third day, and died during a full moon, just like Christ. Wow. Passover occurs during the full moon, and in Plutarch, on Isis and Osiris,
like even Jesus's death takes place on a Passover on the full moon in the same time, if you will, in the month.
And the Passover originates in Egypt. Ooh,
I mean, you kind of have to wonder, like, what the heck is going on? So I feel like I really did myself. I did a good. This is like a documentary style top 10 Dying and Rising. So anyone who wants to get into it, like it's.
I watched it. You knocked it out the park,
bro. This was a home run. I feel like
it is a must watch.
I mean, let me tease you with the beginning of Dionysus, and then tease you with the beginning of Zomoxis, real quick.
Let's do it.
Number 3, Dionysus. Before I even read anything that he has to say, I highly recommend reading Dennis MacDonald's work on Dionysus and the Fourth Gospel. The Dionysian Gospel is the name of the book, and his work on Greek literature and its influence in the New Testament.
Look how serious he is, bro. He don't play no games.
He's the best.
You better not play with Dennis MacDonald.
He's one of the best, man. He really is.
This is that part I wanted to show, though, about Dionysus that I thought was interesting. Oh, right here. I tease you with some good stuff.
It's central to the Bacchic mysteries, one of the most widely known and celebrated in the Western world at the time. Those baptized into his cult received eternal life in paradise, and just like Christians, 1 Corinthians 15, Dionysians could even baptize themselves on behalf of the deceased loved ones, and thus rescue those already dead. Number 4, Zomoxis.
Bro. All right, we're done. We're done. You got to watch it. If you haven't watched the dang thing, you need to go.
It really is good, though. That's one of your best.
I think that's the best, most organized.
You've been having a lot of really good videos lately. That's all. Like you've been on
YouTube, bro.
Hey, I try.
The YouTube gods need to listen. We have sacrificed plenty. It is time.
Yeah.
It is time that you pay attention and let the algorithm ride us to the top. We need to be able to ascend above 100,000 subscribes.
Right. You got to get that check mark. Got
to get that check mark.
Yeah.
Not official.
You get a plaque for 100K or is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You're almost there, man.
Halfway almost.
Yeah,
almost halfway there.
The second half should be faster than the first half, right? Usually.
I would say. I mean, the more you are aware, I don't know. I've seen some people who are kind of stagnant. They get to a certain point, then you're like, they may gain like 1,000 in like 6 months of subscribers. And I'm like, I want more people to be aware of this stuff. And I venture into so many topics. There's no reason, from ex-cult members to actually studying the cults, to actually investigating history, to talking about other mythologies, to you name it, having debates on my channel between Christians, open conversations with people who believe and don't believe. There's no reason. I even have scientists come on and all that kind of stuff. So there's no reason why.
Yeah. The next one's an interesting question from Mummy Vale. Thank you for that super chat, Mummy Vale.
Thank
Do
you.
you think Paul was really a Jew from Gamaliel's school? Found nothing in the Talmud. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm highly suspect of that whole he came from Gamaliel. I don't know if that's like, let's give him top credentials so that he looks like this guy's a legit top notch. It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible. It's definitely possible that he's not a complete idiot, you know? I don't know.
I agree with Mummy Vale that there's nothing in the Talmud there's a lot about Gamaliel. Nothing about Paul. But what I think is interesting about that, before you want to close the door and say it's all just made up by Christians, Gamaliel comes from the school of Hillel the Elder. Hillel the Elder is the one that says that to treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated, that's the whole Torah. Everything else is commentary. So you could see there's a line maybe there's some influencing happening. Maybe it's possible that Paul really was from that school of thought, and they interpreted the Old Testament differently, more favorable to our Christian worldview. So that there's something there that sort of makes sense, but like he's right.
I take Acts very cautiously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a myth.
Paul doesn't say it, and you would think
it's a Christian odyssey. Is what it is.
I'll tell you about like what I have picked up in Paul's actual letters. Paul be the first dude to use this. He wouldn't shut up, I think, if he was taught by Gamaliel. I think he would have flexed on everybody the whole time. That's my opinion. Right. Because he does this weird stuff where he's like, I'm so humble, but I'm the best of all of them. But I'm like really, really like I once knew a guy, and I don't want to brag or boast, but it's really me, who went to the third heaven. Like he does this weird, what do you call that? Like passive aggressive, I guess, where you're like trying to act like, look, I don't mean to say this much, but I am better than all of the other guys. That's what Paul does. Why? What? Maybe being a student of Gamaliel wouldn't have been a flex on them. I don't know. Maybe they would have saw it as a slap in the face, because if it is a Gentile audience, they may or may not have cared. But I don't think that's the case, because Galatians, he is constantly dealing with Torah. He's trying to get these Christians or these Christ followers to say, like, stop worrying about cutting the junk off. Like, don't worry about your circumcision. Do not follow the Torah, because there's death in that. There's life in Christ, the law of Christ. So I imagine he would flex on his students or his followers who would be convinced by these other arguments of other Judaizers and use it. And he doesn't use it. So it's almost like that argument of like, how come it says he appeared to 500 in 1 Corinthians 15, but the Gospels don't use it?
Right.
Is it because that wasn't there in Paul's letters and later it was inserted? There's so many different questions to ask.
Yeah. I found something for him from a scholar. Helmut Koester, professor of divinity, ecclesiastical history at Harvard University, questions if Paul studied under this famous rabbi, arguing that there is a marked contrast in tolerance to Gamaliel is said to have expressed about Christianity, with the murderous rage against Christians that Paul is described as having prior to this conversion in Acts 8. So
that's why B.S. Lewis in the chat is saying, if Paul studied under Gamaliel, then why did he hunt Christians? Would Gamaliel even gave a crap? He
literally sent that exactly while I was reading that too. That's
exactly.
Fun. Yeah. So yeah, good point, B.S. Good point. Yeah, that was the last. Oh, we got another super. I think we do.
I do. Dragons and Genesis.
There.
So, dude, you weren't supposed to tell everybody. You weren't supposed to like say this publicly. We were supposed to talk off air, but I get it. I haven't sent my check this month. This is kind of like discipline, and I understand. You'll be getting your check soon, though. Please forgive me, Jason.
Jason,
I'm that humble. I'm that humble that I'm actually publicly apologizing.
The video I did with Jason about Book of Enoch was one of my favorite ones so far, and it got a lot of views and a lot of likes and comments. We got to get you back on here, dude. You really have and your channel, by the way, Dragons Genesis podcast is one of the best. He does mostly audio, which is, if you're like someone that's at work and just likes to listen to.
If you're a truck driver like him,
yeah. If you're we want to hear good commentary, critical commentary, unbiased critical commentary on biblical scripture, Old Testament stuff, New Testament stuff. That is your one-stop shop. Go and subscribe to Dragons Genesis podcast. Do it right now. It's really absolutely. I really recommend it. I really do.
If you're also wanting to go further into the mysteries, he has a wonderful OnlyFans account. If you're interested in checking that out, Jason,
the phallic mysteries, you'll see it.
He's one of the most hung. Let's just put it that way. You got to go check him out.
Yeah. So, anyways, the last thing I wanted to talk about with you was, in a few months, like 4 months from now, maybe 5 months from now.
Oh yeah, October.
We are getting ready for a big event that cross channels, your channel, my channel, and Professor Tabor's channel.
Yep.
Go and subscribe to James Tabor.
Yes.
Scholarly stuff on.
I love that guy.
All types of topics, from the Dead Sea Scrolls to what's his name? The murderer,
Oh.
the Waco, Texas thing. He's
Yeah.
he's got so much stuff in there. Old Testament, New Testament, Christianity, Judaism, all this. Go there. But us three are traveling to Jerusalem. Is it Jerusalem? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Israel.
we're going to be in Israel. Yeah, but we are going to be right there, dude. We're going to be right there.
We're going to get footage.
We're going to be at Augustus. We're going to be at Caesar Augustus. We're going to see his temple. We're going to see, well, the foundations of it. We're going to check all of this stuff out. It's going to be.
Yeah. Herod built a temple for Augustus, like in the north, like it's actually called the road to Damascus. It's on that road. And that's one of the, I think that's the first spot he said we're going.
I don't know the first spot.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not going to say that, but anyways, whatever.
I don't know.
He said we're going to a bunch of different locations there, and that's going to be, we're going to get all the footage we can. You got 8K rolling. I got 4K rolling. We're going to have good audio. We're going to have good scenes, good topics, interviews. We're going to possibly stop by and see Rabbi Tobias Singer while we're there.
Yeah.
And just bring back as much content as humanly possible.
That's our goal. We want to get as much as we can. And I definitely am going to have to turn down the quality on the new camera so that we can get more, because a 2 terabyte hard drive for that particular camera is $800. I mean, $800 for a single 2 terabyte hard drive. And I'm not going to be recording it too high, but it will be high quality. There's just so much to get. We're going to be going down in Hezekiah's tunnel. That's going to be fun. In the earth, where they're actually hiding during certain, they're being surrounded, right? And they can't get to water. They had water beneath the earth, and they had dug out rock to get down beneath the earth. And of course, we're able to escape in some of these sieges, if you will. But the water that's down there and stuff, we're going to be traveling. I'm going to have the camera and the flashlight. And me and Neal are going to be claustrophobic probably through that process. I want to see Honey the circle drawer, but I don't know if we're going near his grave. Yeah. We are going to Masada. We are going to swim in the Dead Sea. We are going to be right there where the Dead Sea Scrolls were.
Yeah, and that's the good thing is this: we have Professor Tabor, who's been there 72 times.
73 this time. Will be 73.
Right. So he literally knows this place backside, inside, outside, all over. He knows how to find these locations. We're not going to be wasting any time. We're going to go right to the spots, get the footage, talk about it. We have a scholar that's going to be with us that can explain this stuff to us. And we're going to get really good videos out of this and put it up on our channels. And I'm really excited about this. I hope you guys are excited about this.
Well, it's not just that he's a scholar, right? Scholar, schmaler. People will just throw that around. It's that he's not only a Bible scholar, he's also an archaeologist.
Right.
So like he has legit credentials to excavate and dig and figure out the evidence here. So he's going to be taking us behind what a normal tour would be. Like tourists can go only so far, right? Typically. Don't touch that. You can't go beyond this tape, whatever. We're going with him. And he has that. Here's my red card. Boom, let me through. We're his camera people. So we're going to be in there seeing the digs, seeing the sites, looking at the archaeology, going in the museums, all this stuff. We're going to be having a blast. It's going to be good.
Yeah. DE just became a member. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
How does salvation feel? You know, how does it feel to be saved?
You are now saved.
Hallelujah.
You're saved from the demiurge. Let's see. I think I missed one, didn't I? Or Krakenford. Here we go.
You got a couple new ones.
Krakenford. You two have so much enthusiasm, so proud of what you're achieving, and remember to sacrifice the odd virgin every now and then to keep the gods happy.
Oh, if you have not subscribed to John White's channel, I mention this every time. If you're interested in ancient mythology, Proto-Indo-European, Thor and Odin, I always use those terms, and he's like, oh, it's way more technical than that, and there are many names to different gods and stuff. But I love learning this kind of stuff. You should go subscribe to John's channel.
Yeah.
Do I need to pop that up? Is that what we're doing here?
If you want, yeah.
I mean, I can. Let me do that.
Will you find the Tomb of Saladin? Thank you for the super chat. I don't even know where that is. Maybe. If it's there and if it's, I don't see why not. I mean, yeah.
Will the tomb of Saladin find us? That's the real question.
Yeah. Saladin is a pretty interesting story though with the Crusades and his fight against Richard the Lionheart. It's like they made a movie about it too. So cracking forward.
Our ancestors' stories.
Dude, this is a great channel, by the way.
Yes, it is. Let me exit this little. What? How do I close it? There it is. Okay. Close player. Yeah, go subscribe. I'll put it in the chat.
All
and
right.
then I forgot. I got to add Jason Folks too.
Okay.
So we'll have both of them so people can go subscribe.
Yeah, awesome. That is cool. And by the way, you guys know him from my channel if you've been watching. I do a lot of collabs with Kraken Ford. Whenever I get into anything that has to do with Proto-Indo-European mythology or Norse religion, Germanic stuff, that's my guy. So Dragons and Genesis podcast is where I go to when I'm driving in the car, when I'm working, when I'm just chilling, when I'm not, I'm doing other stuff. My eyes are focused on other stuff, but I want to listen. This is the go-to. This is your go-to for that.
It's how you keep your sins like continuously washed away. I mean, you're saved, but like this ain't the once saved, always saved kind of thing,
Right. Wow, we just got a whole plethora of supers in the last couple minutes right here. So let's get to these real quick.
Hallelujah.
I know you have to do your live in a couple minutes. So Jake Pake, thank you for the super chat. You two are together a lot these days, and you seem to be really like one another. Does Mrs. Mythvision and Mrs. Informant have anything to
Yeah, I never get off the dang computer. She does. Hey, Neal. So Neal doesn't have a Mrs. Informant.
No.
But I do have a Mrs. Mythvision. And she gets so, dude, tell him. You tell him.
She's like, you're still on the computer?
She comes out and like peeks her head around the corner in the office and is like, and then she walks out. What are you on with Neal still? I'm like, give me 5 minutes, give me 10 minutes. I'm gonna make a thumbnail for Neal because like Neal helps me edit, and you see those plugs, and I'll help him with thumbnails, and like we have a way of scratching each other's backs and helping each other out. And she'll be like, you said 10 minutes ago that this would take you 5 minutes, and I'm like, we're talking about other things. Hey, I found this source. We're like kids. We are really like children in adult bodies. Let's be honest to our followers here that are watching.
That's a fact.
We are kids in adult bodies. All right, I confess.
Speaking in tongues.
Absolutely.
Henry M., thank you for the super chat. You both are so enthusiastic. I'm convinced you will find Jesus' tomb and the places where God walked on earth, maybe the Garden of Eden. We're going to try. That's for sure.
We're going to try and find, I mean, obviously I'm interested in looking into what the arguments are. It's so speculation, like there's so much speculation involved, but if we were able to somehow trace DNA, mitochondria through the DNA, and we're able to connect things, that might be an interesting thing. Like we mentioned before with Dr. Tabor, who introduced the whole Panthera, Jesus Panthera, the idea that Jesus is the son of a Roman soldier named Panthera. And if we actually have the ashes in the tomb of this Panthera that lived at the time Jesus would have existed according to the Gospels, then you connect that DNA and go, hold on, here we have the Talpiot tomb, we have bone, and we have the actual ossuaries. If the DNA matched, in some sense, we saw something there, man, that's a way to kind of go, what? Hold on, how did Panthera's blood end up in a Jewish ossuary in a tomb that we know is from this time period? That's the only scientific way I can imagine trying to connect it. Other than that, man, you're kind of, it's all faith and speculation.
Right. I always thought about that too. People are like, what if we find Jesus' DNA? I'm like, how do you know what DNA to compare it to? Like,
you wouldn't even know even if that were the case, but there would be
people think DNA tests are like, you take a test and on the computer screen says Jesus H. Christ, first century.
I knew it.
Like his whole social security just pops up on the screen. That's not how it works. Like you have to have something to compare it with. Like you have to know okay, this was Jesus' body. He died here. We have a sample of his blood. Okay, now we have his DNA. Then you could find something and connect it, but you can't just find a bone or something and be like, oh, we put it through our system and it came up as Jesus. Like, it's not, it doesn't work that way. Like, but anyways,
the Garden of Eden, though, if you're looking for the Mormon Garden of Eden, you can find it here in the USA. I can't remember where it's at, but it's somewhere where Joseph Smith started out. As far as the Garden of Eden and Genesis, that's a whole different.
Don't they say it's in, like, in Persia or like somewhere east of Babylon or something?
I don't know.
Honestly, I've heard a lot of different. I heard Africa or all these different theories on where it is. But to be honest with you, when I read the text, it doesn't seem like it's even on Earth.
I don't know.
Else. That's right.
I mean, if you're getting kicked out and you're not actually getting immortality,
there was a garden in Persepolis, though. That
I would imagine Babylon would be like a source for this garden because there's so much Mesopotamian lore behind it.
Paradise and Persepolis. Maybe there's some connection there. I don't know. Just making stuff up right now. But
thank you, Henry.
Yeah. Sherry D, thank you for the super chat, the $20. Thank you. Appreciate it. One of my Patreons as well. Really appreciate having you in the chat. And thank you for your support. I appreciate that. In October, I will be vicariously living through you guys. I'm so excited for you both.
We'll try and give you updates as far as like the content that we're recording and editing and all.
That's going to take. We can just go live on the phone and just
if we have the connection, we could. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll try.
Just to give updates at least.
Do the best we can to give updates while we're there, but also bring back fully edited, amazing content.
That's without a doubt. Yeah.
So we'll try to do both. There's Kraken Fords. Make sure you guys subscribe to that. And there's Dragons and Genesis. It's in the chat. Make sure you guys click on those. And I think that's it. And we just hit the hour.
You missed.
Oh, Soltron?
Yep.
Okay. Soltron. There we are. Soltron for the 666.
666.
You know, that's that Pythagorean, secret number of Nero. Is that a Pythagorean thing, the gematria, or is that just Jewish?
It might be just something. Are you talking about gematria? No, I think that's a common thing, but I could be mistaken because I know Hebrew's an alphanumeric language, just like Greek alphanumeric. Yeah, the numbers and the letters are, used for the same counting system as well as language. Yeah. So I imagine this is something that is outside of just that, though. I imagine this would be more than just Hebrew.
I think a lot of religious movements had some sort of form of gematria going on, some sort of numerology, sacred numbers and sacred geometry, all that stuff.
Yeah,
that was just like part of the. It's just part of the plan, part of religion. You know what I mean?
Right. But it does seem like a Semitic, definitely Semitic languages would use it.
Yeah, for sure. And that is it, I believe. Yeah. So there's two things to look out for. Number one is the courses, M. David Litwa. It's going to be the best. You're going to get so much knowledge from this. It's a college course, and you're not going to be able to find it anywhere else but here. And number two, 4 months from now, we're going to Israel. So
you're gonna need to start a GoFundMe.
Yes, I will.
It is extremely right now to travel. It is extremely expensive for flights, and just travel. Period. So you're gonna need to set something like that up, and maybe you can.
No, the reason why is because I want to be able to get top-notch equipment for. Like the camera I have is pretty good, but if I could get some funding to rent out some what do they call those? The rigs. Those they're like for like cinema. Like I would want to get something like that where I can come back with like a film, like a full blown film, like documentary style.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I would set up funding for that. So maybe next week or this week I could put that up on the Patreon and on the community tab. And if you guys help out with that, if I don't reach that goal, I'll just do it. I'll just try to figure out any way I can use that money to enhance the trip to make sure I get better content. It'll all go towards the content. That makes sense.
Yeah, I just set it up, man. And I think that some people would be more than happy to help.
Yeah.
Because they would be obviously a participant in the process.
Yeah.
And so you could figure out ways to leverage their help to giving them something in return,
Yeah. Soltron says, have any of you two gentlemen watched the videos on Dr. Charles Coast's channel? about Jesus and Christianity. I have not, but I will check it out though.
It's KOS.
KOS, yeah.
Yeah, and there's looking it up right now. Charles K. I think it is. It's got 47.8 thousand subs. Is this it? Let me share the screen. Making sure we're. Is this it?
It looks like it.
I don't see the Christianity, but it might be in here somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's something to look for, and I'll check it out for sure.
I got it pulled up. Awesome. Okay. Take
Yeah.
a look. Let me stop sharing. There we go.
All right. Well, like I always say, you have just attained true gnosis.
You have just attained true gnosis. The demiurge has no power over you.